it's like I'm gonna spit some real shit for y'all right now. It's like, look, like when you grow up in the trenches, it's like society treats you different, man. Like, look at you different. It's like, man, you coming from where we from, man, we were on the come with it.
Look, they treat you different when you from the trenches. Bitch, I didn't grow up in no burb, I grew up in the village. Tryna get that shit up off the curb, I turned it to a menace. I wasn't hanging around with no girls, bitch, I was hitting fences. Childhood trauma, take it back to about the age of 9. Gunshot sounding like fireworks on 4th of July. I told my sisters and cousins that we gon' be alright as long as we stay solid, protect each other through eerie nights.
Man, that is Deja, that is Mac singing that. If you grew up in the trenches, it's my homegirl out of Sacramento. I always want to give honor and praise to God starting the show. I'm grateful to be alive and well. I'm not dead, not in jail. I'm truly grateful for that. I was sharing a story that earlier today I could have been in jail, and I'm glad that I didn't go that direction. So just know that God is working on me too. I always give honor and praise to God, but also thank Sister Lita Heron for starting Gang Talk Radio, which got me involved in getting on the radio stations and doing podcasts and things of that nature, and my mentor, Bo Taylor, for getting me out the tow truck and doing this type of work. But I got to give a shout-out to the host, the Dog Whisperer. She's here with us today, and if you don't mind, you're the host, I'm the co-host, so tell us your name and how you feel or something. Tell us an exciting story about a dog. You're high?
Hot, fool. What?
Oh, I can't hear out this ear, and you sitting right there. Okay, so what'd you say again?
I'm hot. It's hot as hell today.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. You ain't noticed?
I was in the car all day.
I thought you. Never mind.
Yeah, that was early. That was
morning.
I told her myself. Didn't you hear me? I said I almost went to jail. She about to tell y'all what I was doing, but it wasn't hot then.
Skipp wasn't on his best behavior today.
No, it wasn't. All right. So tell us, why are you excited?
For our guest.
Oh yes, indeed.
What you want to know? An exciting dog story?
Yeah. What happened today with a dog? Tell me something interesting about a dog today.
Nothing happened today, but I did almost get bit in the face a couple days ago.
Face?
Yeah.
Was it your dog or somebody else's dog?
No, not my dog. You already know what's up. But I was actually, I won't say where I was, but I was at a store.
A cat store, huh? That's what a dog
Plead the fifth. I was at a store, and the guy has a Belgian Malinois that somebody surrendered to him.
A Belgian what?
It's a police dog.
What's it called?
Belgian Malinois.
Malinois.
Mm-hmm. So that's the breed that the police use typically. They used to use German Shepherds. Some still do, but our guest probably knows this. But yeah, it was a puppy. He's about 7-8 months old, and dude was like, yeah, he just likes to bite people. So I'm like, let me see what's up. So we take him out the crate, and we're fine. Like we do, it's called a double leash exercise where I'm on one. I have one leash and the owner has another leash, and we just walk the dog. So I take over the leash. Everything's perfect, giving him treats. We cool. And then I'm touching his neck because that's part of the eval. Like, you got to see, there's only one way to know if a dog, is sensitive in a certain area. So I touch his neck, and I noticed, like, I think he was covered in fleas. Like, the worst case I've ever seen in my life. So I'm, like, parting the hair, and he lost it. And obviously, like, he's a puppy, so I have to hover over him, and he snapped back and, but got to be quicker than that. I'll quit, I'll be prepared. So, but no, he would have got a good chunk of my face. But
I'm glad that didn't work out.
I know. But yeah, that's probably the craziest thing that's happened lately. That was just a couple days ago.
All right.
Doesn't happen too often though.
All right, well, that's
thankfully
good to know it worked out in your favor.
I know.
Yes, indeed. So, one of the reasons we have this guest here, of course, he has an incredible story. But your father was in law enforcement, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
How long? And what department?
Over 30 years at LAPD.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he bowed out gracefully, retired.
Mm-hmm.
Get a large check.
Yep.
Just get to sit at home and watch cartoons and still get paid.
No, he works for the Rams.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and the Dodgers.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
So he's still staying active,
All right.
But, yep. Interesting dynamic.
Yes, indeed. So without further ado, young man, what's your name, sir, and how you feel today?
I feel hot.
See, he gets me.
Feel hot. But my name is Quincy Miles.
All right, Quincy. And one of the things that, man, stood out to me when I heard your story, Quincy, was I never knew you, but I could tell you was honest when you were telling your story. So I could paint a picture and say that we were in a room, used to be a courthouse for juveniles, detention center, where Chuco's and Second Call LA office is. And we had a special guest, which was Robert Luna, who was running for the sheriff department. And we were going to have a conversation with him. And there's some things that you shared that I would like the world to know, if you don't mind, about what it was like being a Long Beach police officer during the tenure that you were. Can you share some of those things, brother? Because when you addressed the well, he's a former retired chief of Long Beach Police. He got really angry, and the one thing that stood out to me is when he said, "You're a liar," in front of all the people that he wanted to support him. And and I could hear the honesty in your voice, brother. So let me stop talking. Tell us a little bit about your experience, brother, with Long Beach.
So I joined Long Beach PD 2005, right after I graduated from college.
Okay.
I didn't even get a chance to celebrate my graduation because I graduated from college Wednesday, and then that Thursday I had to report 5 o'clock in the morning for police academy.
So you had already went through training and everything
No.
while you were in college?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get my college degree
Okay.
before I went into my career. So when I joined Long Beach PD, I kind of knew I would face some challenges, just based on, police culture in itself.
Right.
I grew up in Watts, Jordan Downs. Then when I was 10, I moved over here to Crenshaw area, Crenshaw, Slauson, Hyde Park, Brownhurst, all up in there. And so, I my mom, I think 1968, during the Watts riot, saw or heard a sheriff put a gun on my grandmother and told her if she didn't get in the house, she'll blow her fucking brains out. And then, can I cuss on?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 10 years later, in 1988, I was 10, LAPD put a gun up to my mom's head in front of me. So I'll blow the fucking brains out. So that's 2 generations. So I knew what I was going into. And because of that experience, that actually what made me wanted to go into law enforcement. Because my mom kind of taught me, like, look, if you don't like the way something is, you go do it and show them how to do it better. So I thought going in, I'll be a part of the solution and not a problem for our community. So once I became a cop, actually, the people always ask me what was the hardest thing. It was the internal stuff. The community, working with the community was great with me because it was a sense of I could tell I had certain relationships with people that others who grew up in different areas couldn't have. I felt folks trust me, and I guess they felt my honesty. I mean, there were guys I took to jail. Like, look, I got to take you in, but you're gonna go in for what it is. So it ain't gonna be no extra. It's gonna be what it is.
See, a lot of people, even myself, I ain't mean to cut you off, man, but that's some of the things that we suffer in our community is that, man, I might have done something wrong, but don't put the extras. Don't give me the gun and the drugs, too, man. I was loitering or I was trespassing, But go ahead, brother.
One of the stories that really stand out to me, it was a older black gentleman, maybe mid-50s to early 60s. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And we stopped him because graveyard shift ain't nothing to do. So you get one call, 10 officers going to be at that call. It could be like something petty, but it ain't nothing else to do unless something really. One thing about graveyard, either it's popping or it's nothing to do.
Right.
And so older black gentleman, and we stopped him. So he see all these police cars and he on his bike, and we were dealing with some car burglars on bikes in the area. So it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could tell he was sweating, he was scared, and he was shaking. And one of the officers go up to him, and they goes, You must be up to something. Why you shaking? Why you scared? I said, oh, gee, how old are you? He said, I'm 60-some years old. Or what? He said his age. I said, where you grew up? He's like, oh, I'm from Mississippi. I said, tell them when you were my age, when they stopped you in Mississippi at 3 o'clock in the morning, what's your chances are of going home? Oh, he was like, oh, back in my day? He's like, I probably wouldn't go home. I said, that's what he's afraid of. He's surrounded by 10 cops, older black man, grew up in Mississippi. This is terrifying for him.
Right.
And so it got quiet. So as y'all can see, those was the type of moments for some that made me militant, confrontational, and had all these labels placed on me because of those type of moments where I felt I understood why he was scared. And not even just a black man. I remember I had a Latino guy on his knees, and he pissed on himself. And another Latino dude, because we had some language barriers between us. He said, hey, he think you're going to shoot him in the back of the head. I was like, why he think that? He said, because when the federal rallies put you on your knees, that's a wrap. I said, oh, my bad. I said, hey, tell him he could just sit on the curb and cross his legs so I get through running his neck, get his. So he tossed, I just need you to translate with me. Just that moment of just being considerate of people experiencing lives and what they've been through made a huge difference. Because at first it was coming off he wasn't listening. Then I was like, I don't think he quite understanding what I'm saying.
Right.
So I probably would have still worked it out. Probably would have got there a little longer than I did.
But you still would have never figured out about that federality thing.
Yeah, but I never put an older Latino man on his knees again. Because I understand what that means. And I don't ever want anybody to think I'm about to shoot them in the back of the head.
Right.
So it was just those moments. So like I said, I had a pretty good relationship with the community as well. The issue was that what I was getting at the station, that, like I said, they called me militant and confrontational, and I didn't want to listen and all these things because that's not the culture in Long Beach, and just by the looks of things, it's the third biggest department in LA County, and they never promoted a black woman. Right. I tell people, you go look at the LAPD, you go look at the sheriffs, they have black women that are sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. Long Beach have never promoted a black woman. I actually blasted them on Facebook about it because they put up Black History Month last year, and I said, this is bullshit. Y'all never even promoted. I said, y'all have only hired like 10 black women since year 2000. It's only about 25 black people on the department as a whole. So that's why when I was saying that's those Luna, he was heated because I kind of feel like, look, whether you like Luna or Villanueva, where you hate it, I think all the facts need to be put on the table and let people decide.
Right.
If Villanueva, good, bad, and ugly is going to be out there, then Luna's need to be out there.
Right.
Because and then let people decide with all the facts, out there.
Right.
And so that's why he had, up until that point, he's been going around touting people about his record at Long Beach. That's why, because technically I wasn't even going to say anything, because I knew I was mad. I was like, I'm too pissed. But then I realized I'm the only person in here that can hold him accountable to his record in Long Beach that he's bragging about.
Yes, indeed, because you know about it, brother. Let me ask you a question. There was something that you said also about a relationship you had with a guy who was about 6 feet something, 6'9" or whatever he was, and when a radio call came out that there were 2 black men who did a robbery, and when you got to the scene, what did you see?
Okay, yeah, I won't ever forget this call. The call came out that it was 2 male blacks that had committed a strong arm robbery. They basically took the lady purse, knocked her down, took her purse, and they said that the suspects was possibly in this white van, like an old white church van. So we get there, I get there first, and I see heads ducking down. So we formed a team, approached the car, and when we slid back the church van, it was a bunch of little kids from age 6 to like 17. Like, ton of kids. So we escorting kids out, and we trying to figure out why all these kids, first of all, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Why are these kids out at this time, what they doing in this van? So as we trying to figure out the pieces, because this is not adding up, they have what you call a field show up. This is where you put your victim in the back of the police car, you shine the bright lights in front of the car, and you bring your possible suspects in front of the car. While I was somewhere else, that's what they were doing with our victim in the back of the car. But the people that they were putting in front of the car for her to identify was little girls from age 6 to like 10. Remember what I said the suspect description was, right? 2 male blacks.
Right.
Little girls from age 6 to 10 is nowhere close to that description. And that she was identifying them like, yeah, she did it. They are handcuffing these just young girls. And they crying, clueless of what's going on. And one of the kids I knew, because he was like you said, he was like 6'9", and he wear blonde hair. And I always told him, you need to stop committing crime because you're a 6'9" black dude with blonde hair. And every time I know, and he's always around. Anytime somebody, oh, my house is broken into, real tall guy with blonde hair, I already know who that is.
Right.
And once I saw him, I went up to him. I said, where that purse at? He was like, all I did is throw it in the ocean. Exactly. So when I came back, I dealt with him. I'm seeing all these young black girls sitting on the curb in handcuffs crying. So now I lose it. I said, if you put me in front of that damn police car right now in uniform, she's going to identify me.
Right.
Because one of the issues I had, she was drunk too. Right. So are you comfortable with a drunk white woman, 1 o'clock in the morning, deciding whether or not you committed a crime?
Hell no.
So I'm going down the line, and I'm handcuffing kids. I'm like, you ain't going, like, I was like, what is this? You not, send these kids over there. They're not going to jail. Well, we could, I'm like, no. Like, this is basic ass common sense. I already got one dude to admit that he threw the purse in the ocean. Why are these little girls? So I was upset because I couldn't say, apparently one had already been transported. And I was upset because she ended up taking like a plea deal or something to something that she didn't do. I wish they had fought it, but people don't know that because if she had fought it, I definitely would have testified on the stand that she didn't do it. But just that experience of trauma, I think one of the worst feelings for me, and this is probably the first time I'm really sharing this out for the first time ever, was that when I slid open the door, I had my gun pointed into the car. Into the van. And it was right at this chest of a 5-year-old kid. And it messed me up. And I made sure before I left that I sat down with that boy. And I explained to him, I said, I'm sorry, I apologize. That nobody should ever point no gun at you. And I sat on the curb so we could be eye level. And I said, I apologize, and I gave him a hug. Because I wanted him to know, although I was doing my job, that wasn't meant for him.
Right.
That energy wasn't meant for him. So, yeah.
Man, that's powerful, brother. That's really powerful. And in my opinion, we need more like you. But as you said, they're not promoting in Long Beach.
No.
So they might promote in the L.A. County Sheriff. But what I was told, every time I throw a name out in the L.A. County Sheriff, I throw him out to a friend of mine. I think me and you have the same friend, L.A. County Sheriff. And I say, well, what about this person? What about that person? And him and his wife look at me and say, no, Skipp, no. Like, damn, they've been bit with the virus too? Yeah, they're part of that same corruption. Even though they look just like me and they say, hey, Skipp, how you doing? And want to shake my hand and, hey, let's go eat. But they're part of the corruption. And I see it. I see the individuals who will go along to get along.
Yeah.
It's more of those than they are of people like you.
Well, yeah. When Long Beach, they're very strategic. And so what they would do, they'd say, oh, yeah, we hire black recruits But what they don't tell you, because it's at will, they don't make it off probation. So they actually had a black training officer that they would send the black recruits to. So when they got fired, if they even thought about a lawsuit, they're going to go, well, it was the black field training officer that fired them. So just like when they came after me, they used a black sergeant to come after me first. Now, but the person who I knew that was sending them was a known racist throughout the department. And one thing, the crazy thing about my situation, and what I tell everybody, it was the white guys that pulled me aside and said, hey, they're racist and they coming after you. It was the white officers. Now, you know when white people pull you aside and say, hey, don't be naive, watch your shit.
Right.
They coming after you. And this is why. And so, and then told me to go seek out senior black officers to help me, because when I met one other senior black officers, and he was like, who's coming after you? And I told him, he said, oh, well, I dealt with his father. Now I gave him another name. He said, oh yeah, I know his dad too. Then I gave him another name. He said, oh yeah, I was about to beat his father up for saying something racist.
Wow.
Damn.
So he dealt with the fathers, I was dealing with the sons. And so Luna took offense because I knew he doesn't really do good being confronted and being under pressure. That's why I don't even understand why he's running for sheriff, because I really don't think he can handle it. I mean,
how do we do the worst of two evils? I mean, the best of two evils. How do we look at that? How do we say this here is a proven bad person? This is a person that we don't know if is bad or not, and then we get him in a room with you and say, oh shit, he bad too, and then he proves it to us in front of us after you said he was bad. He does something, and so how do we look at that? Like, we can't win for losing out here, LA County.
Well, what I suggest, because I don't like the fact that Luna is getting away with just running. I'm not Villanueva, and I'm going to get along with the people he don't. He won't he won't commit to no policies.
Right.
I mean, because really my basis of my question to him wasn't just about my situation. Because remember,
you named all these other people.
Yeah. I said, what are you going to do differently than you did in Long Beach?
Right.
You didn't promote black women in Long Beach. The EEO stated that every black officer that reported racial discrimination to her was fired. So you have a history of retaliating against black folks. You have a history of not hiring black folks. What are you going to do differently than you did in Long Beach? And he never answered that question.
Right.
So I think that what I would like to see people do, whether it's Luna or Villanueva, make both commit to more policies. Commit to that. Just not like, well, this is it, because I heard somebody say, well, I'm supporting Luna because, the Democrats are supporting Luna, which I have an issue with. And look, I'm an independent, but normally I vote Democrat because the other side is on some other shit I can't go with. But I tell you,
but sometimes the other side, like you said, will take you to the side,
and
say, "Hey, watch your back; they're coming for you."
Yeah.
So sometimes the other side might
but,
have a better energy.
But this is how I feel about that statement. Well, I'm going to vote for Luna because of the Democrat. 92% of women, black women, vote Democrat.
Right.
You're supporting a candidate that's coming from a department that never promoted black women.
Right.
So the Democrats that's supporting a candidate that didn't support that in his 20 years, whether it's commander, deputy chief, never vouched to say, hey, you know what? This department never promoted a black woman. We need to change that. Never said that in 20 years. And the Democratic Party, where 92% of their most loyal voters are black women, how do you explain that?
Right.
And I think that we need to put Janice Hahn, all these local Democrats that's getting behind him, put his feet to the fire and put their feet to the fire. Like, how can you support somebody blindly just because you don't like this guy, but you're not making him commit to nothing? You was in the room. He wouldn't commit to anything.
Right.
We couldn't get him to commit to nothing.
How does the normal citizen, though, like, I don't know what type of room that was or if citizens had access to that room, but how do we do that and keep them accountable?
I organized that. I should have called you.
And actually,
Eric Strong, a lieutenant for LA County Sheriff, asked me if we can have that there at the location, and so that happens. And sometimes I know when things like that happen outside of my building, but that's something that we should all share. And I'm going to be honest that a lot of people don't want to be in rooms like that. A lot of people who watch me on YouTube or Instagram say, oh, man, I ain't fooling with no police. But it's important that I pick the sheriff. It's important that I pick a congressman or congresswoman or council member. A lot of people just want to vote for presidents like we betting on a race.
Yeah.
They want to pick the favorite horse. Nah, man, we got to really know who the people are, and I think you're absolutely right, because I never knew the things that he exposed about Luna.
And the thing about it, the people who came in there with a certain perception left with a completely different.
When Luna said you're a liar, he lost the room. So everybody in that room who might have been, yay, Luna, when he started talking and I could feel the energy and the honesty in what you were saying, and Luna, look, you're lying. Oh, man, you lost. But if that's your only defense, if you can't back anything up that was stated, if you don't say, well, let me get the record straight, and then later he said, yeah, well, I can't speak on those things, but you can, because you're no longer chief.
Yeah.
So if you were chief and these were ongoing issues, I understand that. But you're not chief anymore.
But I also told him, because he's like, he didn't, I can't speak on this case in his term. You remember I said, if anybody want to sit down and talk openly about my case, we can. I show you all the documents. I got all the audio, and one of the things I told him when we even talked afterwards, when we met face to face, he brought up one of the deals was because they wanted to get rid of me, but they couldn't find nothing because I didn't have a lot of IA situations. Actually, I had a sergeant call me from off the streets and say, hey, your productivity is low. I said, my productivity is low. My arrest is about what everyone is. My traffic stops. I said, my productivity. Oh, well, you're not getting enough use of forces.
I want y'all to understand that. Wow. As a matter of fact, I want to stop. Let's rewind. So what happens is a use of force is meaning that I'm making physical contact and I have to contain you in a physical manner. I have to hold you down.
Taser, baton.
Come on, man.
Shooting, takedown.
So I got to shoot you. Do y'all understand this? I want everybody to understand this, that I would be looked at as a good officer if I had the tickets, the radio calls, arrest, but also use of force, which includes shootings. So it's sort of like promoting, I need to shoot something. I need to take the opportunity. If I see, and I want to shout out this dude, Robert Smith from LAPD. He's sitting in the Taco Bell parking lot, and he watched a man get killed. He saw the car roll up. They shot him and his partner sitting there. They go in pursuit. He get the guy over by Vermont Square Park. The dude wrecked the car and run. He said, Skipp, I got him. He said, I saw the dude was throwing the gun. He said, but legally, I could have dead him right there. Mm-hmm. He said, I made 3 arrests, no shootings. And Robert Smith was moved to some other department or whatever. He's not Southwest no more. I don't know where he is. I ain't seen him in about 5-6 years. But you and Robert Smith are the guys we need in the community.
You know how many people, by policy, I could have shot?
Right. I'm sure.
And that's the true. I always tell people that badge is going to amplify whoever you are. So if you're a good person, when you put on that badge, because you got power. You got power to take people freedom. You got power to take somebody's life. That's a lot of power to give somebody.
Yes, indeed.
So when you put that badge on, that power is going to amplify whoever you are. Like, remember in the movie The Mask,
Yep.
Whoever put the
Oh,
mask
yeah,
on,
I
they
remember that,
personality, whatever.
Jim Carrey.
It was more amplified. When Jim Carrey put it on, it was goofy. When the bad guy put it on, it was more evil. That's the same thing with that badge. And whoever you are is going to come out. Is going to amplify. So if you are not very considerate person of other people's lives, don't really care, don't really give a damn about other people, that's going to show. If you're shady and you want to do sneaky shit, that's going to show. If you're a caring person, look, I prayed with somebody before. He was in jail. All right, yeah, I got to.
It's all right, brother. I'm going to wait on you, brother. You worth it.
My goal is to tell the story without crying. The dude was arrested for drugs. And he was really sick, so we had to take him to jail. But we had to go to the hospital because we had to, I had to stay by him because he was under arrest, so we had to keep him cuffed to the bed. And the doctor came back and told him he had 6 different cancers and 3 was terminal and he was gonna die in 6 months. And the dude looked at me, he said, man, don't nobody love me here on earth. So I'm not even tripping. He was like, I just wish if I died I could go to heaven. And God would love me. I told him, I said, there was a thief on the cross that died with Jesus that he saved. God would love you. I promise you. And he got excited. He said, what? You think God was all the bad things I done did, God is going to love me? I said, you damn right. I said, if you want to, we could pray. Me and him. I'm a cop. I'm in uniform. I always tell people the best compliment I've ever got as a police officer. When I was out there and this woman said, "You're a man of God." I don't know how she knew, but I knew that's when I was representing whatever I was taught to represent from my family. I knew people had raised me right from that point.
Yes, sir.
And that is who I am. I can't be nothing else.
Right.
So when I put on the badge, yeah, I never put nobody's life in danger being too caring, being too loving. I did what I had to do. I had my use of forces. There were people, and you know what the dude said? You know what he told Turner Affairs? He said, Officer Miles did everything he can not to whoop my ass. When I saw him, we dapped. He apologized. I said, man, I didn't want to do you like that, but damn. I tried to give you every chance. You can't. And then I said, but once you swing on me,
right,
I have no choice. He's like, I know. And from that point on, that built a relationship.
right.
I see him, we talk. Another gentleman. I got a call that somebody went in Walmart, stole some shoes. When you enter a store without money and you're attempted to steal, that's a burglary.
Right.
It's no longer a petty theft. I said, man, why you stealing shoes? He said, man, my mom died, then my dad died 7 months later. And I got this interview with the military later on. And I just want to have some nice shoes. So I'm in the booking tunnel, and it's constantly just bothering me, because I always tell people there are people that make mistakes,
Right.
and there are criminals. Some of us make mistakes that just so happen to be crimes, and some of us are just criminals.
Right.
This side could be redeemed. This side, we gonna have to, they just can't get it right.
Right.
But this side, this is fixable. This is a quick fix. This is going to take some programs and all type of stuff to fix this over here. But this is a quick fix. And I was on training at this point because at this time, I said, oh, shit, I'm about to get fired. Because my training officer said, you know what? I'm going to let you make the decision. You do what you need to do. I said, well, I'm going to write him a petty theft ticket I called to confirm he did have an interview with the military. And the guy was like, yeah, he's coming. I said, okay, he'll be there. Blah, blah, blah. Dude did the interview with the military. I gave him a ticket. I released him from booking. So he didn't go to jail. He walked out. Yeah, I just, go ahead. I saw him months later. He was like, hey, I got to report the camp penalty. Thank you. And my training officer, he said, why did you let him go? I said, because he had no record. I said, but you talking about, we throw a felony on a kid, just lost his mom, lost his dad. Now he can't go to school, he can't work because he got this felony.
Right.
We're gonna cause a problem.
Right.
He's like, okay, cool. I just wanted you to be able to explain whatever decision you make. He said, but I would have done the same thing. And that training officer was Sean Campbell. I won't ever forget him. Shout out to
So
Sean.
are most training officers like that? Or are most training officers
No.
want to get you acclimated into where you need to be to let's go kick some ass?
No, a lot of training. I was blessed. I have to. I gotta admit, I had good training officers all the way through. I know some of my friends, they didn't, and it's unfortunate. Some training officers, I think they was like beat up as kids, and now they want to get the rookie and just do mean shit for just nothing to help the person become a better officer. Like, I'm just want to give you, like, the haze and all that shit is cute. Like, they made me do little songs and shit in front of the squad meeting, whatever. Like, that stuff, that's nothing. I could go with that.
Like a fraternity type thing.
Yeah. But when we out there in the street and you know, like this, I give you an example. Under Luna, while Luna was chief, a young lady, her training officer told her, I don't trust you. I'm not going to train you because you might be one of them Black Lives Matter people.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm not sure if you one of us yet.
Wow.
That was why Luna was chief. That was like last year.
So just think about that, man. And, you know, Long Beach and Signal Hill have always had that stigma or that being known for not liking black people.
Yeah.
Signal Hill killed, I forgot his name, was it Daryl Stinger? Somebody, he killed somebody who was a football player.
Yeah.
Say he hung himself or something.
Actually, my one of my mentors, probably one of the best homicide detectives I know, he works with the family. He's still working on bringing, because I think one of the guys that killed him, Ron Settles.
Ron Settles, right.
Was his name. Ron Settles.
Yeah.
One of the guys that killed him passed away. So they still, because the case is still open.
Right.
So what they like working towards to getting the case closed, because they know who did it, but you know the case is, you know, kind of one of those Emmett Till things.
Right.
Where we know who did it, how it happened, but
just couldn't put it together.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the process. So I know for LAPD, there's an inspector general that comes out to the officer-involved shooting, especially when it's a homicide, along with internal affairs and certain things. They separate the officers so that, you know, they can't share stories together, whatever. What's the process with Long Beach when there's a shooting, man? Is it all internal? Is it all?
Pretty similar. The DA comes out. DA come out. I've never been involved in the shooting. Like, I've never shot anyone, but I was a peer partner. So, like, if you get into a shooting, they'd be like, yeah, actually, who do you want to? Because some guys freaks out after they didn't kill someone. I mean, it's an emotional thing. Not everybody is all callous like you think. So they don't want that officer to be alone. So it'd be like, hey, watch him. We don't talk about what happened, but I'm just there to make sure, you know, you got something to eat, because you're going to be out there for a minute. And I'm just making sure your head is in the right place.
Right.
And so then that happened. Then you got to work for homicide, the DA, the chiefs, all the heads up. And what you would do, you do a walkthrough. While everybody's walking along with you, you telling them everything, what occurred and what happened. And then after that, you'll go back to the station where you will be by yourself. At that point, with your peer partner, but I kind of be off in the distance, and you got to type your report, and it goes from there, and you go give it to the homicide detectives. But yeah, it's kind of very similar, very similar.
Right.
I mean, one of the problems with things not coming out in Long Beach is that the entities at Long Beach are not holding Long Beach PD accountable.
Right.
Like Long Beach branch of NAACP, for example. I think people then got comfortable with I got to connect, and they pretty much stopped caring about the big picture. One of the folks who I filed the racial discrimination complaint against, when I called the Long Beach branch NAACP, and she's like, who you having problems with? And I started naming people. She's like, oh, he's like my son. I'm like, he's one of the most racist people in the department. Then, in my lawsuit, he came out and said that he was a member of the NAACP. This dude, part of my report, that he was putting Obama face on the trash can, walking around the station saying shit. So that's the NAACP. Does that sound like an NAACP member to you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and so you have that entity. People assume because you have black people on the city council that are Democrats. Go look at their top donors. I know Al Austin top donor is Long Beach POA. So it's a lot of folks that's in Long Beach that's supposed to hold their feet to the fire, and they don't, because everybody.
So the corruption is deeper than the police department.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same in Los Angeles for the sheriff, also for the city police department. That we don't stand.
But at least
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the real solution?
At least the feds has been in the sheriffs. I mean, they arrested like 22 of them about 5-6 years ago. At least the feds have been in LAPD. The feds haven't. Long Beach have never been on a consent decree.
Right. Well, LA's off of it now.
Yeah. But at least they've been on something.
Right.
But all the things that have went on in Long Beach,
right,
nothing.
So let me see if I can get some callers to call in, man. We got about 15 minutes or so. You guys can ask questions. Let me put the number up here. It's 323-815, if I'm correct. 815-4204. This is a perfect opportunity to ask someone who's been there, done that. Let's find out if there's any callers, any questions. What about you? You got questions, I'm sure, man. Just suppose you were walking with your dog, not bothering anybody, man, and they pulled you over and said, put your hands up. Where you going? Where you been? How would you feel about that?
Man, this has been a lot to take in, to be honest. I don't know. It's like I think, one of the episodes we had where you interviewed me, I talked about my experience with when George Floyd died and protesting and getting arrested and all that. It was traumatizing for sure.
Going to jail. He said, go ahead, I support you. Go ahead.
No, he did not. He did the opposite. We didn't speak after that. So, which was heartbreaking. Like, it was tough. But, I don't know. My one question is, like, what is the solution, truly? Like, I feel like there isn't one. You can't say, Dave Love.
That's my guy.
I love
We
Dave.
call him Smooth Love. He was an officer for 32 years. He went to the Rams. Now he's in Seattle.
I love him.
He is community. He's just like
Yeah.
you. I'm standing outside with Dave Love one time, and a car passed by. And he looked at me. He said, you know them? I said, nah. He said, you got your gun? I said, no. He said, well, I got mine. They come back. Dave was street. Like, they come back and they ain't right. Just get behind me, Skipp, because I got mine.
Well, I think as a black community, we have to be a lot strategic with our leverage.
Right.
Like Luna had that meeting because he wanted the black vote. But when we were in that meeting, he wouldn't commit to no policies. He wouldn't commit. He could have even said, hey, you know what? I made some mistakes in Long Beach, I'm going to be a much better sheriff.
But is that really a solution, like policy?
Yeah, because, well, as far as culture-wise, it's going to take a lot to change law enforcement culture. That starts with hiring process. I always tell people, folks are like, oh, they need more training. No, you need to hire better people. The training is not the issue. It's the hiring process of hiring people who only fits in a culture and not hiring the best candidate. So you might be the best candidate, but you don't fit in a culture. You fit in a culture. You gonna come in and you don't really cause me. We like the way that's why
Don't make waves.
Yeah, that's why if you notice, people have a certain look. They all kind of look the same, certain personas. Because law enforcement look for people that fits into a culture, and the culture is tainted. It's been tainted from the jump. So you gotta hire better people. Like I said, I've been. One thing I say this about Long Beach, they trained the hell out of me. I feel like I was well trained. I was heavily trained to handle every different call, everything that happened. I felt like I was ready. I was prepared. So it wasn't the training. I got the same training as some of my classmates that's facing jail time right now for doing shady shit. So we had the same training, but we had the same people. And I found out from my background investigator that they was going to disqualify me just because of where I live.
What you mean?
Oh,
you live in L.A. County, right?
Yeah, I live in the hood, though. Because he live in that hood, can't hire him. Oh, where you live at? West Boulevard and what? We ain't going over there. Oh, where you live at? Corona? We'll be out there to come talk to your neighbors.
Right. So I live on West Boulevard. I can't be.
Where you live at? Watts?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know my situation last week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But to me, that's so that's the problem. Putting people in certain positions. Like I know a commander who was out in Long Beach that was trying to make changes. A brother. He's my kid's Sunday school teacher. I think they pastor. And the moment when he tried to make changes, they transferred him out. And he retired. That just happened this year. So when
it's about protecting the culture. It's about protecting the foolishness that's being trained, and they want that to continue. But
that's why people
that's why it's important that we vote the positions that we can, which is sheriff. So Long Beach Police is appointed by the city,
city
mayor, the
city manager.
Okay,
city manager. But as far as what we could do with these candidates for this November, look, you might have to get in a room with people you're not too fond of. Like that's why I was at that meeting. I wasn't there to blast Luna. I was there because if you wanted our vote, I could put aside my personal issues with you if it's going to betterment of the community of L.A. County, if it's going to put better leadership in L.A. County. So I wasn't there, as hard as it was, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
So we might have to get in a room with some people who, you might have to take a meeting and get in the waiver.
Yes, sir.
And sit down with them
and ask him about the same thing. Caller, what's your name?
This the mass law student.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hey, what's up, Skipp?
Man, all is well. I'm alive and well, not dead or in jail, so I'm glad to be on the line with you, brother. You have a question for our guest today?
Well, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to raise some up. You was talking about, like, the background process. I don't want to say I'm in on the air, but you know who I am. I had you come to one of the prisons and do some second call stuff for me.
Oh, okay.
Between the lines. Yeah. So one thing I could say with the background process, a lot of things they do to disqualify black applicants, they use a psychological test. Because a lot of the questions that they use on there, it could be geared towards things that are legitimate issues within the black community. Like we might feel like somebody's out to get us, or we feel like we're being set up, we're being marginalized, etc. So when you mark those questions on the psych test, it'll come back as paranoia, or it'll come back as some type of mental disorder when it's not a mental disorder. There are people that legitimately do not want us in certain positions, and they try to hold us back. They try to put obstacles in our way to where we can't succeed. So when the brother was talking about, the background process being very hard for us, I can vouch for him. It's very hard. I work in the prison. I know. We don't have that many black staff at all. It's rough in there. That's all I want to say on that real quick.
Nah, I truly appreciate it, brother. Thank you for the call, and you do bring up a good point. You bring up a point of, I like to say, present stress disorder and not post-traumatic stress disorder, because a lot of times we haven't healed from the things that we need to heal from, and then you're going to ask me a question, and I'm unhealed. So I'm going to give you the unhealed answer. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Thank you for your call.
All right.
All right.
Also, there are things like, for example, I grew up in the hood, right? Have you ever been around drugs?
Of course.
Yes. Have I ever done drugs? No. But have I been around it? Yes.
Hey, listen, people grew up in Palisades. Have they ever been around drugs? Yes. They grew up in Corona. Have been around drugs? Yes. Some of them have used drugs.
Right.
Have you been around gang members? Yes. I got family members again. But I have no record. I have no tattoos. I'm a college graduate. I have no criminal record. And actually, those relatives, they the one push me, don't be like me. Don't you hang out here with us.
Right.
Get your ass in the house. You go to school. Don't you do what we're doing. But see, the fact that they would disqualify you just based on your address before we even get to that point. Mm-hmm. And you remember, they don't have to explain why they disqualified you. Another thing, they would try to get us on is outside of our relationships with our family members and drugs and things of that nature is our credit report.
Oh, definitely.
People got some folks got credit because their mom put, at age 9, start opening up credit cards, and then they had no control over that.
Right.
And so, it's all those type of things. But that's why I get irritated, because people are like, they need better training. That ain't training. This always, you can't train the racism out of people.
Right.
Facts.
You can't. Motherfucker racist, they racist is what it is. If they racist, they shouldn't even got hired.
But they should have, because the people who hired them were racist.
Well, yeah.
So it take one to know one. So what's happening is it's a cycle that is continuing. And I hate to say that you are the bearer of bad news, but you are, because you're telling us the cycle does not stop whether we pick Luna or Villanueva. We're going to have the same cycle. Is going to fester in the sheriff department, where we're going to have to wait another 4 or 5 years to get Eric Strong or someone who is really going to go and stand up against this system, this cycle. Right now, we don't have it in the 2 candidates that we have. So you are the bearer of bad news. Stay out of jail. Leave them people alone, because we have no representation. We have absolutely no programming in jail. We have nothing to make a person better, a better human being, or to even be remorseful. It's just go in there and fight. The food is nasty and horrible. When I was in jail, I used to clean the machines, and we'd have rat skeletons in the vat machines, the ones that we had to drain the Earl every night. It's horrible, so thank you for joining us, though, brother. You want to leave the audience with anything? Is there any last words you want to say? You already answered her question.
Yeah,
ain't no help for us.
Like I said, we have an election coming up. Make people earn your vote.
Right.
Go to these community meetings. Go to a community meeting where Villanueva is. Go to a community meeting where Luna is. Ask questions. Have demands. I've sat down and met with both candidates, in the last month or so. And I asked both candidates the same question. I would keep, because I don't want to persuade people vote. I need folks to go out there and do the same thing. Ask these questions. And these are the two candidates. So anytime I don't care if it's your city council member or who it is, you have to really be active in your local elections. Like, everybody, it's just not about the president. Like folks having a fit about what's going on in Mississippi with the water issue, and they saying, well, why Biden haven't done this? Well, Biden sent $75 million last year to Mississippi for water infrastructure. Remember, Mississippi is the highest populated. They have the highest population of black people in the country in Mississippi. Why nobody going to that governor and asking them where that money?
Where the money at?
Why nobody going to? So these local elections matter. It's just not about the president. You got to be attentive in both things. And like I said, if Luna want to meet with me again, I will meet with him again. If Villanueva wants to meet with me again, I will meet with him again as well. And I've asked both the same questions. I've told them policies that I would like to see, and one was open to some of my ideas, and the other one called me a liar. So you got to get in a room with people that you're uncomfortable with, and be able to ask tough questions, because this is what we're dealing with right now.
Before we wrap, I want to know some of the policies that you think there should be in place.
Well, one of the policies I talked about is making sure that the number of black people that are in academies and hiring people from our area. I know when I talked to Villanueva, he talked about a hometown hero program that personally recruits from within the neighborhoods from our areas. But despite how that went with Luna the first time, I would talk with him about that too, because I could I have my personal issues, but I can't allow my personal issues go away from the big picture. So things of that nature, being more transparent with officer-involved shootings. Right. I think
that's what the community is asking for. Transparency.
Yeah, transparency with where you have after, because I understand that you got to have the integrity of an investigation before you put stuff out, because sometimes you don't
create rumors. You don't want to create the rumors.
Yeah. So you got to make sure that your stuff is solid before you put it out. But once you put it out, hey, we're gonna have a officer-involved shooting review at this community, blah blah blah, where we're gonna break down the shooting and take questions. Right. Things. So and things of that nature. So, I'm a lot more. I'm very sensitive towards the way how African American law enforcement are treated, but also I would like to see more people from our community get involved in law enforcement. But like I told Villanueva folks, you can't recruit people into a hellhole. You got to make it something appealing, and so those are the things we discussed. Like I said, we asked Luna how many black people was on his campaign. Asked Villanueva how many black people was on his campaign. I asked him about his retaliation. I asked Villanueva about what he would do better with protecting people from retaliation. I asked Luna the same. He was in there. I asked Luna the same thing. So, I asked him the same thing, and then one thing Villanueva could do that Luna can't do is he could already start the process of implementing those things. And I made that clear. I was like,
You don't have to wait till November.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till November. You could actually put some things into actions now. And, you know, Luna, I mean, it's kind of like, I remember when Trump came out with the platinum plan, and everybody, Trump got the platinum plan. I was like, he could have been done that shit. He could do that today.
Right.
So I've told him that, like, you know, and so, you know, that's where it's at. But like I said, we got to take meetings with people that we might not see eye to eye with or might not like. And like I said, I wasn't there to embarrass them or put them on blast. I know having questions for someone who wasn't going to softball them, because I know that's where a lot of those black leaders in Long Beach do. I was at a community meeting where it was at Antioch Church, and what they were doing, they had you put your questions in the basket.
Oh, and they chose the
and
questions.
they chose the question. Luna just sitting up there comfortable. Well, in our environment, that wasn't the case. And you saw how that went.
Right, no.
Yeah.
It was real people asking real questions.
Yeah.
And asking him, why are you responding in the manner that you're responding when he's asking you these questions? Because we knew Quincy knew from being inside. So, yeah, he didn't have a chance to backward skate. He had to do what he had to do. His back was against the wall. You're a liar. That's the only thing he could, because he didn't know how to finesse his way out of it, or even just, let me tell the truth, man. This was 4 or 5 years ago. I apologize. He ain't say that openly, but I was sitting there talking to you. I don't know if you remember, but I was talking to you when he pulled that chair up. I got up and walked away. So now 101 with him, he's like, oh, yeah, I want to apologize, this and that. Give me a hug type shit. But you didn't do that when you had the platform, when everybody's paying attention.
Let me tell you about that conversation. You know, he did come over and apologize. He said, because I told him, you know, one of the things I went through is, like I said, I was arrested for domestic violence, falsely accused of domestic violence. Basically, I was cheating. She caught me and nutted up and called the cops. Well, one of the reasons why, I mean, the relationship was already kind of going downhill, but one of the reasons I stayed to try to figure out, because she did tell me, like, look, if you leave, I'm taking the baby, I'm leaving the state. So I had to get my ducks aligned before, you know, someone tell you something like that. But of course, she find another chick number, it's on, popping, and 3 months later, she left the state. My daughter lives in Virginia, have lived in Virginia ever since. And I didn't see her from age 3 to age 7. One of the things, so that conversation, when I told Luna, I said, I remember, because it's funny that he called me a liar, and then I told him, I said, the very first thing you say to me, you told me to shut up and you don't want to hear nothing come out my mouth. And because I knew the lieutenant in his office was coming after me, because I only had problems with one person was around me. When he was away or he was in another division, I was perfectly fine. When he come back or he's my sergeant, lieutenant, or commander, I had a problem. So what they said was, because I stayed in a bad relationship, it was my fault. Therefore, they sustained domestic violence. So although they did say she was the primary aggressor. So although she was the primary aggressor, since I decided to stay with her, it was my fault. And then what they did, they offered me a 20-day suspension or be fired, but I couldn't challenge it. I couldn't appeal it. So I did the mistake.
You took the 20 days.
I took the 20 days. Now they made up some other stuff when they fired me 6 months later, and guess what's at the bottom? Oh, he was also
suspended for
20 days for domestic violence. There's no context.
Right.
So anybody, the city council,
he's abusive.
Right. He got problems, because, you know, and that's how they played me. And so, but I told Luna in that discussion, I said, so I'm dealing with a breakup, because despite how it ended, I loved her. I'm dealing with a breakup. Right. I'm dealing with my daughter being taken away. I'm fighting for my freedom. I've never been arrested, you know, in my life, and they trying to charge me with domestic violence. I said, I'm going through all this, and you guys decided to come after me. And I said, no wonder Long Beach done had 6 suicides since I left. And one of my good friends, Eugene Cummins, rest in peace, black dude, went to Dorsey High School. Good dude. He committed suicide because how they came after him in Long Beach. Called his mom. She was leaving the Laker game. She's like, I'm in the parking lot. I can't talk right now. Apparently, he laid his uniform down, shot himself in the head. From around here, he was one of us. And so I told Luna, and so the only thing he said, I wish I can't go back 10 years from now. But I would have done things differently. Because the worst thing you could be is a fired cop. I'm gonna tell you, and they know this. Because all people see is you're a fired cop. They don't know, they don't want to hear a backstory. They think you just shady. So I told him how he ruined my name. How he destroyed my name, and then the part that really got to him, and I told him this to his face. I said, you know what hurts me more than anything is that if you had ever got on that radio and asked for help, officer down, I need units code 3, back up, I'm taking rounds. I said there was nothing anybody could have done to stop me from risking my life to save yours. I said, but in hindsight, looking back, what hurts me more than anything, I would have did that and risked my life, not see my kids, not see my mom. I would have put a flag over my casket, and I would have did that for people who didn't give a fuck about me. Right. I said, and that's the worst thing, how a lot of African Americans feel. Like, y'all make us feel our shit, and then we supposed to come out and risk our lives, right, to save y'all.
Man, we're going to have a part 2, man. And we're going to end on that note. You closing out, something you want to say to the people?
Nope.
Just taking it all in. So, all right, a lot of good feedback on here. Different things that were talked about today. Really touching, man. I appreciate you coming out and giving us your truth and your all. And I ain't gonna forget the man who said, "Don't nobody care about me, nobody love me," and you prayed with him. Appreciate you talking to that 5-year-old, making sure that he understood there's no person should ever pull a gun on you. These are traumatic experiences that a lot of times we don't get help from. We don't get like your friend Eugene, we don't have nobody to talk to. So a lot of people don't commit suicide. They become drug addicts. They start using drugs. They start drinking. They tear up their liver. They sitting outside talking to themselves and wondering what happened. And it's simply because, nobody talked to. So thank you for your time, brother. Thank you for your service. I do not shimmy, giggle, all that with the police, brother, but you are a human being. You are a good person. I truly appreciate you.
You're the second time in my life somebody had thanked me for my service.
Yes, sir. Truly, I thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. All right, so I got some theme music coming on. Y'all got to smile because, same thing make you laugh and make you cry. I ain't crying. I was eating onions, though, earlier, and the onions is affecting me, but I wasn't crying, y'all. All right, I do got some theme music, though.
Look at the difference. Like, man, we coming from where we from, man, we were on the come with you.
Look, they treat you different when you from the trenches. Bitch, I didn't grow up in no burb, I grew up in the village. Trying to get that shit up off the curb, I turned it to a menace. I wasn't hanging around with no girls, bitch, I was hitting fences. Childhood